and welcome back to another video, and today we are celebrating the ever-approaching date of the early release for Endwalker. As of right now, we're about 3 weeks away, and because of the little bit of extra time, I think that maybe I might do another prediction video or two just to help keep us entertained until the release date. I'm still on the fence about that, but as of right now, we do have a brand new video here, which is going to be another speculation video. And it's going to be about the deaths that will be coming in Endwalker. Now, the thing is, no one likes to talk about death, especially if we're invested in a story, we come to love the characters, and I think that's why Final Fantasy fans seem to get so offended when people insult the game, because it's almost like you're insulting a family member, you're insulting someone that they really care about, so of course they're going to defend it. I myself have been guilty of that. But with us nearing the end of such a fantastic story, I just find it hard to believe that we'll be able to escape this story with no major deaths of the characters that we have come to love. Now let me just say that I love most of the characters in this game, and even some of the antagonists I've come to love. And it's not like I actually want to see any of them die, with the exception of Asahi, but I guess he technically is already dead and it's just an Ascian walking around in his body. But the point is that it just seems too much to hope for that every single character is going to make it through alive. Now, we've had several deaths since A Realm Reborn, some definitely more meaningful than others, but we haven't had any real deaths that's directly affected the Warrior of Light since Heavensward. Not to say that other characters that we lost haven't been good, we just haven't gotten to know them as well as maybe we would have liked, such as Moonbrita. Moonbrita was a great character for the short amount of time that we had her. But what makes her death so tragic really wasn't due to mourning her as the character that we knew, but for what she could have been. I do think she could have been an amazing character to have throughout of Heavensward and later on. The same could be said for Tesseline in Shadowbringers, who had so much potential, and her death was actually a horrific shock that really showed us how bad a shape this new world was. We've also had side characters die, even a few antagonists, and again, those deaths were masterful, but very few of them had deep impacts that certain characters had, like Hoshifar, Tizel, Yotsuyu, and Emixelk, for example. But as for the main cast, such as the Scions, we haven't had any deaths since Papalimo way back in Heavensward, and even then, we really didn't get to spend too much time with him. I mean, I guess we could count Minfilia, but despite the fact that she was already mentioned so much in Shadowbringers, we didn't really see her until midway through the story, and it was only for a short amount of time. And I'm not really sure if it actually counts as a death, because she just sort of merged her soul with Reen, so kind of like what happened with Albert. So that's kind of confusing there. The point is that we haven't had any really major deaths for some time, and I have a hard time believing that we're going to be able to get through Endwalker with everyone alive. Considering how they only killed off unimportant characters for full 2 expansions, I get the feeling that we're going to be in for a big shock coming up, especially since we're in a fantasy adventure story, and it's nearing the end of the world, like the final days are right upon us, and if everyone makes it through alive, it's kind of seems unbelievable. Should all of them die? No, absolutely not. But dear God, if you save everyone, it becomes boring. Death in a long story like this is always difficult to predict, but especially because the creators fall in love with them as well and they have a hard time letting go. But like they say, if you love a character, you give them pain, ruin their lives, you make them suffer, possibly throw in heroic death if you have to. It sounds bad, but that's just how it works. But recently, ever since Shadowbringers, we've had a hard time actually killing off characters, and we've been told that we're sacrificing and losing so much, but at the end, most of the Scions have pulled through. Now, I do think that we will be getting a few side character deaths throughout the story, maybe just some random people deaths, but I'm guessing at least one of them will be close enough for the Warrior of Light that it will make it personal for them. I also want to state that while it's not the same thing as getting killed like a heroic last stand, I do think that maybe some of the characters might be in for a kind of retirement. So while they won't be part of the main story anymore, but they won't be part of the Scions anymore. Which I think is a reasonable option to think as well. So let us go through the list of all the major characters that we know. Obviously we're not counting newer characters since we haven't met them yet. since I am certain that we will be getting a few of those. But in this first tier, we're just going to be counting the Scions only. Now, most of them will be part of the trust system, so assuming that people who are trusts can die, let's begin, and then we'll save other characters afterwards there. Alright, so let's start off with Thancred. Thancred has always been a really popular character. He's gone through several stages of character development since we met him in A Realm Reborn, and it's hard to say if he'll pull through since he had the most perfect death set up way back in Shadowbringers against Ranjit, but ended up being rescued at the last possible moment. Now, between him and Urianger, though, I think that he is probably one of the most likely options to bite the big one in Endwalker. Most likely from some kind of heroic last stand or some similar kind of sacrifice. I mean, Thancred has been known to do that. Thancred has proven that he isn't one to hesitate to put his life on the line for another and has the mentality of doing whatever it takes, and if I have to die for someone else, then so be it. I guess it's also likely that he could push himself so hard that he'll be forced to retire from the Scions after suffering some major injury as well, even if he does end up surviving. But a part of me just pictures him being able to somehow retire and return to the First so that he could be with Reen. I know the odds of that are very slim, but I think that would be a really nice addition so that he can go back to the First and watch her grow up. And speaking of Urianger, I do think that Urianger is, out of all the Scions, probably the one most likely to die in Endwalker, if I have to be honest with you. Now, I love Urianger, and I love that they were able to add him and give him like some character development throughout the entire story. I really did like him as a character the more that we got to know him. The thing is, he has a mentality of doing whatever needs to be done for the sake of the greater good, and he could be willing to offer up himself to that cause as well. He's also been tied with the Levier family for probably most of his entire life, and if something happens to the twins, I can see him sacrificing himself in defense of his master's grandchildren, maybe in the same way that Moonbrita did. In the past, he has twice now, paraphrasing his own words, bargained with coin not his to spend. So I think it could be fitting that for his biggest plan yet he could bargain with his own coin, so to speak, his own life. After those stunts that he pulled both in Heavensward and Shadowbringers, I honestly can't see him trying to betray his comrades for a third time. I mean, I understand it was really for the greater good, but maybe he's having a hard time forgiving himself for these acts of betrayal, and he'll be willing to offer himself up this time for the sake of protecting his comrades and maybe make up for that. I honestly don't think he could bear the thought of putting his friends' lives at risk again. At least that's kind of the impression that I got when he was talking with Reen before, how he feels enormous guilt over what happened with Minfilia, and I know he's still beating himself up over going along with Graha's plan to allow him to sacrifice himself for the sake of the Warrior of Light. Next up, we have Y'shtola. Now, Y'shtola is a special case. We learned from Matoya that she has been putting herself under strain since she first emerged from the live stream in Heavensward, when she returned blind, basically. Though blind, she had found a way to be able to see, though it's not normal seeing. She's able to use her own life force to see the ether around her. And she's had several near-death experiences already, and I have a feeling that it's going to be pretty ballsy to go ahead and give her yet another near-death experience, such as how she performed Flow once more and she came out of the live stream, or when she was cut down by Xenos. I mean, if they do try to do something like that again, I think that they will get a lot of hatred for this. Like, at this point, it's gotten to a point that even if they just downright kill her in the game, I'm probably not going to believe it right away because they pulled this trick so many times. The thing is, though, we really haven't had too much character growth with her for a long time. Even in Shadowbringers, while she did change a lot and seemed to have found a sense of peace with the Knights Bless, it honestly doesn't feel like we could have had all the character development from her. Especially since all the death fake-outs we've gotten from her, it feels, I don't know, it feels like there could be room for improvement. I feel that if they really do kill her off, the community probably wouldn't believe it either and expect her to return again at some point. I mean, she could die in a sense so that her body is no longer able to withstand the price of her being able to continue to see by sensing ether. Or maybe if she uses Flow again, that will take her back to the First, only that it will be a permanent journey to the First with no way back. Like, she'll be there soul and body both. I mean, I suppose I'd be okay with that. I mean, she could happily retire there, and it's not like we'll never see her again. I'm sure that she could always send Fearold to send messages back and forth, or maybe just have the Warrior of Light come to visit her. But Y'shtola is the poster child for the game, at least in Japan, and she even had a doll made for her that's $1,000, so I can't see them killing her outright. Retirement? Sure. Death? Probably not. Okay, here comes the tough one. The twins, Alphino and Alize Levier. And let me just say this, I don't want anything to happen to either of them. I have come to love both these two. They're two of my favorite characters of all time. And I'm going to be honest, the launch trailer did not give me high hopes that both of them are going to make it out alive. I can totally see the idea of one of them dying and the other carrying their legacy with them, but damn, that would be painful to see. But especially for the Warrior of Light, who would be devastated should they be forced to lose one, or, heaven forbid, both of them. They were with us since the very beginning. Alfie especially went through so much character development, and Alize clearly has strong feelings for the Warrior of Light and sees them as their greatest inspiration. At the same time, their deaths would be a hard blow to the Warrior of Light's morale, especially since it looks like we're going to be going through a lot of development from both of them in this expansion. Will one be forced to die to spur the other into even more significant growth? Maybe even sacrifice themselves so that their twin and the Warrior of Light can live? I mean, Alphino is going to become a sage here, so that seems harsh to kill him off just when he gets a new job. But people seem convinced that he will die here since he is following in his grandfather's footsteps and he's mirroring Louis Sois's sacrifice since his dream of uniting the realm and have it be at peace has come true. First, I want to point out that no, it has not come true yet. He has seen the very beginning of it forming, but the realm is far from at peace, so I can't see him dying just because the foundation for his dream is coming true. The trailer has given some clues that maybe things are not going to end well, especially during the ending, where he speaks, he's thanking somebody here, probably the Warrior of Light, for staying with him and letting them know just how much they mean to him, in case there isn't a time to do it later. I mean, you could take that as him saying that on the eve of the big battle. I don't necessarily see that as a death sentence yet, though, because these trailers have had death fake-outs before. And Yoshi P himself has admitted that out of all the characters, Alphino is probably his favorite as well. So, I cannot allow myself to really think that he could end up dying. As for Alize, I feel that she's also going to be in for a big growth spurt coming in Endwalker, and I can see her continuing to travel with us for the long haul. Especially since I don't think she's going to be leaving us alone with Graha, if I have to be honest. I mean, I can completely see her coming with us to maybe like Mericidia, to the New World, to maybe other shards. I don't think she's going to just up and abandon us after coming so far. What scares me most is that in some quests they have you choosing between characters. A big example of this was back in Eureka when we had a choice to either save or condemn someone to death. And my worst fear right now is that we're going to have to make a similar choice and decide which twin survives. So please, Yoshi P, for the love of God, don't do this to us. As for Graha, no, I can't see him dying either, especially after all we went through to save him and bring him back in Shadowbringers. He's here to stick around. Besides, if we end up going to other shards or even time travel, won't we be needing him? I can see him with us for a new adventuring party once Endwalker is over, but in terms of death, I think that he'll go through a form of it in terms of his royal blood. It has been stated that his royal Allegan blood will fade with time, and I think that loss of this will be treated with kind of the same gravity as death in a sense, because it's helped us out so much in the past in terms of Allegan ruins. For example, if we do end up traveling to the moon in a ship built by Allag, he will be needed. But I can see him losing his royal blood then just when we need it the most, and that's probably going to cause a lot of trouble there. So, Grahatia alive, yes, but his royal blood definitely fading after Endwalker. That's my bet. As for Kryl, I can honestly see it going either way. We really don't know her all that well yet, though. We got to spend some time with her in Eureka, but unless they develop her character further, I don't think she will be playing a major role in Endwalker, especially since she isn't even on the poster or even the cinematic trailer. I do think she's going to be a big help for us to get us to Sharlayan, but if she's going to live or die, I think I would give her a 50% chance. It's all up to a coin toss, really. Estinian. Nope. Moving on. Seriously though, despite the fact that Yoshi P stated that Alphino was his favorite character, another reason to keep him around is that he's a big fan of Estinian. His major purpose was to put an end to the Dragon Song War, and with that done, he's free to do whatever he wants. But with his and Nidhogg's spirits entwined in a way, I don't think we can ever fully understand. I don't see him ever stopping, wandering about, and having just a quiet life. Also, for those who think that he will betray us in Endwalker, look, just because he's a moody, cynical, stubborn dragoon like Kane from 4, it doesn't mean that they're the same person and will betray us twice in Endwalker just because of all the references to 4. If you want to be technical about it, Estinian already betrayed us twice when he was under Nidhogg's control, both in Heaven's Ward and in the job quest. So I guess he already fulfilled that role. Besides, I can completely see him coming with us when we head off to Mericidius at some point in the future, because I am firmly stating that we are going to Mericidius someday, and I can totally see him being a big help there. So we can't off him. Tataru is off limits in my opinion. She's the one who's keeping the Rising Stones running after all, and so without her we'd never be able to pay our heating bills, so there's no way we can risk losing her. She is on the cover poster, so I think she will be lending a lot of support, but let's not forget that she is not a warrior and therefore is highly unlikely going to be going anywhere near the battlefield. So that was the main cast of characters, so let me just give you a quick percentage of what I personally think for each of the main characters and maybe some of the side characters. To start off, we have the Scions. Now, for Alfie, again, I do not want to see him die. I love his character, and I mean, if I have to give a percentage, I would say 35% of death in the game. Most likely, I think if he is going to die, it'd probably be in an act of saving either his sister, the Warrior of Light, or maybe both from some kind of force, like maybe some kind of evil coming for them, maybe even from Alize's own reckless behavior, because she is rather reckless. She's attack first, ask questions later. So if I have to guess that he's going to die, it would probably be in defense of his sister. As for Alize, highly unlikely. I give her about a 15% chance of death, but again, she is Alize. She just seems to come through whenever you least expect it. But I can completely see her being part of the Warrior of Light's maybe traveling companions after 6.0. I mean, that would be really cool. And going back to Urianger, again, I think that he is the most likely candidate to die. In Endwalker, I personally hope not either, because he is a really good character. I would say 65%. That's kind of on the low end for me. I mean, I could completely see him willing to sacrifice his life to protect either one or two of the twins, like maybe in name of Louisoix, his master whom he loved and respected so much. Possibly dying the same way that Moonbrita did, maybe even for Sharlayan as a whole. I can completely see him willing to use his own life as his coin to spend. Though I do believe that this is probably going to be like the last major expansion that we have with Urianger. If he doesn't die, then he probably is going to retire. Maybe he retires back to Sharlayan, becomes maybe a new leading force for maybe the Forum or something like that, and helps to maybe connect Sharlayan with the rest of the world, because even if they do open up their borders to the rest of the world, it's probably going to take a while for Sharlayan to learn to play nice with the rest of the world. But speaking of Thancred, I'm going to say just a little over half. I would say 55% that Thancred has a chance of dying. Maybe he ends up just charging in there and just willing to give his life for the sake of someone else, like a grand heroic last stand. Maybe he's willing to make bait of himself and it just costs him. I think that a really nice thing that would happen would be if maybe he suffered an injury and it's just not allowing him to be able to fight anymore, and so he has to go into retirement, possibly find his way back to the First to be with Reen. Again, I am determined to think about that, but that's just me. Moving on to Y'shtola, I would say reasonably 20%. I'll give her 20%. The thing is that she's got plot armor thicker than a Magitech Reaper's Hull or something, so I don't see her dying, but I do see her maybe performing the flow maybe one too many times, and it somehow carries her back to the First, and she's just stuck there. There's no possible way back for her to the source, and she just spends the rest of her days there with the Knights Blessed. So I think that would be a nice ending for her too. As for Graha, Estinian, and Tataru, no, I cannot see us losing any of them. So with Graha, I can definitely see him traveling with the Warrior of Light in future expansions, future adventures. And he's definitely going to be a big help because he's time traveled before. He's gone to other worlds before. He's time traveled. And if we do go up to other shards or maybe even traveling through time, we're definitely going to need his experience. As for Estinian, probably the same thing. I can completely see him coming with us to Mericidia, maybe someday, but I don't see him living the quiet life and just going into a retirement anytime soon. And Tataru, again, she's the only one who keeps the bills paid on at the Rising Stones. I can't see us losing her, so there's no way that we can end up losing her. Cryo, I would say 50%, like I said before. I do think that unless they really develop her character more, I think that there's a good chance that she could end up dying too. I mean, she's not really much of a warrior. It does seem like she has some, not really, I wouldn't say battle experience. She does have some experience with healing, but I just cannot see Cryo like making it out if it comes to like a full one-on-one battle or anything like that. I mean, she's not even on the Endwalker poster. I do want to see her character developed a little bit more, maybe move into a more important role of the Scions as well. Okay, so let's move on to some side characters here. Let's start with the nation leader. So we'll start off with Merib, so the Admiral. So I do think she could end up suffering a severe injury or something during this whole battle, but I can't see her really dying out through this entire thing, especially because of the new side stories that we've had. I give her 25%, and that goes the same with Kane Senna. Kane Senna is a very gifted healer. I do have a feeling like if she is injured, she could probably use her own abilities to heal her wound. I give her about, I'd say 15% too. Yeah, I think that sounds fair. Raubon, I'd give, let's say 40%. I mean, he's not a leader of the Immortal Flames anymore, but he is still an important role of Alamigo. Alamigo is going to need him if they're going to rebuild. And we've had just so much time with Raubon too, especially throughout Heavensward when we were helping him trying to save the Sultana, as well as his role in Stormblood. I think 40% is more than fair. And the only reason I gave him the 40% is because he only has one arm. Emmerich. No, I cannot see Emmerich dying. I think the entire community would flip out. Emmerich he's basically the leader of Ishgard. Ishgard desperately needs him. And I can't see them killing him off after they went through so much trouble with trying to keep him alive, like way back in Heavensward, because the man was stabbed in the gut, for crying out loud. And if I have to, I'd say 5%. And I think that's more than fair because people love Emmerich, myself included. There's no way that we can lose him. So if I have to say how he would die, maybe jumping in protecting the Warrior of Light from Xenos or something, but highly unlikely. As for Nanamo, 0%. I mean, I don't think that she's going to go anywhere near the fight. Of course, she's not a warrior, she's not a healer. I mean, we already went through this because we thought she was dead in a Realm Reborn, so I don't think they'll go through all this again. And let's see what else. So moving on to more side characters, Lise. So Lise, well, she had such a big role in Stormblood. She's a gifted fighter, and with her skill level, I'd say another 15% of death. So I don't think that we'll be losing her anytime soon. If I have to be honest, I really don't care for Lisa's character. I mean, I think we just had maybe way too much of Lise throughout Stormblood. Maybe if we had just a little bit less, I wouldn't feel this way, but I would say 15% seems more than fair too. As for Fortuno Livier, the twins' father, out of all the likely candidates, I think he's the most likely to somehow get killed in this entire expansion. I give him 75 to 80% of death. I think that either he ends up like standing up against the twins and he ends up leaving them no choice but having to kill him to kind of put a stop to this plan, or maybe he spills the beans on all the secrets of what Charlene is secretly up to and he dies trying to save his wife and kids, maybe part of a redemption arc or something like that. I don't think that we'll be able to make it through this with him alive though, if I have to be honest. Next up, we have Yugiri. I don't want to see anything happen to her, really. She is going to be in the middle of a lot of danger, though, but she is a shinobi, a very gifted one, too, so she knows how to hide and escape and kind of sneak around, so I'd say 35%, and that's on the high end as well. Maybe she goes, like, into a rematch with Xenos, maybe she has to dive in to protect Heian, but we have to remember, like, she's kind of his major protector now, especially since Gosetsu left, so I do think we'll be seeing him again. So I think that Gosetsu will be making an appearance again, and maybe he dies protecting Yugiri or Heian in a battle against Xenos or something, like maybe against like a whole horde of some of these monsters that we're going to be up against. If we do see Gosetsu again, I give him I would say 65 to 75% chance of death. We do know that Lucia is also going to be part of the battle as well. She was actually seen in the launch trailer. She's going back to Garlemald, which makes sense because she is actually Garlean. And I can't really see her dying, to be honest. I think that I would say 42%. Maybe she dies in an attempt to protect Emmerich in battle, but I think the odds are really much lower than that she's actually going to be killed there. As for Pippin, so Pippin, he just took over the role of the Immortal Flames from his father, and I do think he's going to have some kind of a role, maybe not a major one like we had him in Stormblood. He could end up dying trying to protect his father or Nanamo. I don't think so. I think Raubon's more likely to die protecting him and Nanamo than the other way around. I'll still give him a 25% chance of death, just to say so. And let's see what else. There's Gaius. I do think that we will be seeing Gaius again. I do think he's going to be playing a major role in helping us maybe explore more of Garlemald, maybe try to connect with the people more. And this could be like his major time to be able to redeem himself, so to speak, like try to put things right. I don't think so, really, because he's going to have a huge role in trying to rebuild Wurlitz. I do think we'll be seeing him again. I would say, I say 30%. 30% sounds fair to me. So 30% chance of death for Gaius. And I would also say 30% chance for Flodola. I do think that Flodola is going to be appearing again. I think she is going to be playing a much bigger role in this. And you know what? Maybe not 30%. I would say 40%. Yeah, 40% sounds good for Flodola. I do think that she is going to have some kind of a redemption arc. I do think that she is going to have like some really big event happening that's really going to cost her to redeem herself in the eyes of maybe not the people of Alamigo essentially, but maybe to those who do believe in her, like maybe herself. Maybe she's not doing it for others, but really to redeem herself in her own eyes, maybe to make amends for all the deaths and damage that she has caused. So Flodola, I give 40%, which leaves us with several other people. I guess you could say the antagonist now. So I only have a couple for the antagonist. We're almost done with the list. We have Fandaniel, who is temporarily using Ashahi's body. I do think that he will be biting the big one before the game is over. I do not think he is going to be the final boss. They have mentioned that neither Xenos nor Fandaniel are going to be the final big boss for the game, which I'm kind of glad for. But I do think that he is going to be getting killed, maybe not at the end of the game, but very near the ending. So we just kind of put a stop to his plans there. So I give him 100% chance of death. And the same would probably go to Xenos. I mean, there are so many people out there who just hate Xenos. Myself, he's definitely not written nearly as well as MXL was. But then again, he is supposed to be like the crazy mad lunatic that we're supposed to be fighting with. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with just having a lunatic that's trying to destroy the world that you're up against. I mean, I think it's pretty fun to actually fight with and not have to worry about morals or anything like that when you're up against him. Just knock him out because he's nuts. Of course, I do think it could go either way. He either goes full villain, or maybe he turns around and maybe saves us at the last possible minute at the cost of his own life or something. At least with the Warrior of Light, who he considers to be his one and only friend. I'm leaning much more towards he goes completely full villain on us, unless like Emmek's secret comes out to play. I don't know. The thing is, it's going to be tough to kill him because he's practically an Ascian right now. He's an Ascian all but names, and I mean, he all but cut his head off before in Stormblood, and he still came back. It took him a while, but he came back. So they're going to have to use a pretty creative way to actually finish him off. And it's the same for the remaining Ascians. So I do think that we are going to have to deal with the remaining Ascians for the time being. If we're ending the story with Zodiark, it could very well be that the other Ascians are going to be in the grave as well by the end of the whole thing. I mean, I think that would be strangely poetic unless Gaius ended up taking care of all of them for us. But I really wouldn't put it past Square Enix to leave maybe just a couple of them, you know, just in case to be used as useful plot details. Maybe like for Pandemonium, or maybe even for some of the job roles that we'll be getting. And finally, let's go to Zodiark / Hydaelyn. I'm going to be putting them together because I do think that both of them are going to bite the dust as well. I think that the two of them are actually two halves of one coin. We have the light side and we have the dark side. Maybe it was just one being that was somehow separated into two beings and they're going to merge together before the end. I don't know, but they could be the final boss together. The point of the matter is that Zodiark has always been a serious danger. And without Hydaelyn there, his darkness would have spread and pretty much turned the whole world into what happened with the Void. The problem is, flip side, Hydaelyn's the same way. If she's left unchecked, her light will spread over and pretty much turn it like into the empty. So I really don't see how we can destroy one and leave the other one still there. I think we have to take out both of them if this world is ever going to have a chance to really move on and be able to flourish under its own rule without the control of the gods. We did get a glimpse of Vana's memories of the final days, possibly to add maybe something to her reasoning for defying Zodiark and creating Hydaelyn, and maybe implying that she has regrets for her actions and wishes to atone by aiding us. It's hard to say because we really cannot confirm 100% yet if the Lady in White is actually Vana, but I do think that she is going to be playing another role in this. Because, just as a little added bonus, the Lady in White's 100% chance of death. I don't think we'll be getting through Endwalkers without her dying as well, because if she is Vana, and she is Hydaelyn's heart, and if we are going to be destroying Zodiark and Hydaelyn by the end of it, we don't know that for sure. Maybe we can somehow miraculously pull them together to live in peace side by side. I don't think so, but I do think that as Hydaelyn's heart, there's no way she can continue to live without Hydaelyn there as well. Anyway, everyone, that is my idea of the death count. So some of them definitely pretty low. I'm sure that they fluctuate here and there, but the thing is we just don't know enough. I don't want to lose like any of these major characters, but the thing is we have to expect some kind of deaths here, and I have to predict at least one major death from one of these characters, that the Warrior of Light is going to take it personally and really kind of amp it up so that they do what they have to do to put an end to this madness once and for all. Anyway, everyone, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this, and as well as some of my theories. What do you think? Do you think that my reasoning was on point? Do you like any of the percentages that I gave? Let me know what you think down below. Now, we are definitely going to have at least one more predictions video. It's just going to be my idea of what I think might happen. It's probably just going to be 100% speculation of what I thought, maybe just based on what I saw in the launch trailer. But I do hope you look forward to it. So we're 3 weeks away from Endwalker, and oh, it's just so frustrating having to wait, but I cannot wait until we see exactly how the story ends. So until next time, everyone, thank you so much, and this is Fantasy Girl signing out.